Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth from Cruise Blog, and today we're going to talk about 10 lessons learned after sailing with Carnival for the first time. Let's get into it. Whether you've been loyal to one cruise line for some time or are new to the industry, stepping foot on a new-to-you line can be daunting. My partner Sarah and I recently returned from a 5-night spring break cruise on board Carnival Elation, a fantasy-class ship that debuted in 1998. Although I've had prior experiences with Carnival, it was a first for my partner. During our time on board, she kept track of things she wished she had known beforehand. First, having sailed out of Miami, she found Jacksonville to be less organized. Despite being a small terminal, we were both surprised at the lack of organization. While parking was a breeze, the chaos began as we approached the building, as numerous large groups were standing around, creating confusion. One employee told us that there were actually 2 lines, however, we were only able to find one as there weren't any clear markers of where the second began, if it even existed. Personally, I thought the embarkation process was rather lengthy, as it took us close to 40 minutes to go through security, have our documents checked, and board the ship. Sarah, however, didn't mind the wait as much. Second, she felt that the ship was lacking in one particular area, the buffet. She noticed a lack of choices, particularly during breakfast. Being someone who doesn't eat eggs or red meat, there were limited hot options for her to choose from. Throughout the cruise, she noticed only one rotating station, whereas the salad bar, deli, and pizza place had the same menu every single day. Sarah remarked that she would have loved more variety and a later closing time, as once the buffet closed, the line for Pizza Pirate and the deli got substantially longer because they were the only 2 options. Out of the 2, though, she said she'd go for the pizza because she didn't love the sandwiches. Next, compared to other cruise lines, Carnival tends to have a more relaxed atmosphere. If you don't want to dress up for formal night, you won't be the only passenger walking about the ship in jeans. Moreover, the majority of guests tend to show up to dinner in the main dining room and anything from t-shirts and shorts to sundresses and nice blouses, whereas on other cruise lines, the latter is far more popular. She appreciated how there was never a formal feel on the ship. She was able to go to dinner wearing a t-shirt and shorts or a nice dress. There was never any pressure to get dolled up if she didn't have time. The next thing she learned was that service in the main dining room was pretty slow. We ate in the main dining room all 5 nights of our cruise. Each evening, we tried to request a table by 5:45, as we found the wait times were significantly shorter than those who tried to dine around 6:30 or 7. It wasn't uncommon for us to spend well over an hour and a half in the dining room. While there's nothing wrong with leisurely meals, she thought we spent far too long waiting. There were long gaps in between courses too, as they seemed to be serving everyone around us at the same time, despite having arrived earlier. Additionally, Sarah thought the majority of the dishes were just okay. One entree she wouldn't order again is the grilled chicken breast. She felt as though it and the accompanying vegetables were pretty bland. Speaking of food, did you know that Guy's Burger Joint has veggie burgers on hand? Initially upset due to her dietary restrictions, Sarah thought she wouldn't be able to experience the renowned Guy's Burger Joint on our Carnival Elation cruise. Thankfully, she worked up the nerve to ask one of the crew members if they happened to have any veggie burgers, and to her delight, they said yes. Since they're only available upon request, you'll have to wait a little longer as they don't constantly prepare them like the standard beef burgers. While she's not usually a huge fan of veggie burgers, she was pleasantly surprised that the burger was dressed up the same way as the standard one. It was also a lot juicier than she thought it would be. Next, there was more of an emphasis on safety. Beginning with the email we received in the days leading up to our cruise, Sarah knew that Carnival would be taking safety and security very seriously. You will be sailing with us during spring break, which is traditionally a period of high occupancy, the email read. As part of our commitment to create the best environment to provide a fun and memorable vacation for all, we would like to remind you of our Have Fun, Be Safe guidelines. It highlighted Carnival's strict ban on marijuana, as well as limitations on alcohol that could be brought on board. When we arrived at the terminal, Sarah was surprised by the use of a canine narcotics dog to sniff out any illegal drugs trying to be smuggled on board. Once on board, Sarah noticed a drug dog in the atrium too, as well as increased security personnel on the Lido deck. Another lesson she learned during our cruise was that, although it was small, Half Moon Cay's beach was super relaxing. On Sarah's first ever cruise, she sailed to Nassau and Perfect Day at Coco Cay on board Royal Caribbean's Freedom of the Seas. Because she had previously been to one cruise line's private island, she was eager to compare her experience at Coco Cay to Half Moon Cay, Carnival Corporation's island in the Bahamas. Despite Half Moon Cay being a larger island, there's less overall square footage for guests to explore. The majority is occupied by the large stretch of beach, which is undeniably beautiful. Compared to Coco Cay, though, the lack of amenities curated a more relaxed environment. However, before we were able to get ashore, we had to experience a hectic tendering process. After leaving our interior room on deck 4, we were greeted by an abundance of people in the hallway. There wasn't any line structure and just a singular crew member facilitating the entire process. Once we got onto the tender boat, it did feel safe and organized. After a short ride to the island, we began to hunt to find seating. When it came to the buffet ashore, Sarah thought that the variety of options was nice, however the quality of the food was just average. Having sailed to Half Moon Cay previously, I told Sarah that we could enjoy fresh seafood at the Lobster Shack for lunch. It, however, never opened when we were on the island, which was perhaps one of the greatest disappointments of the entire cruise, for both Sarah and myself. Next, it's important to prioritize lining up for shows. One of the major appeals of cruising is the free entertainment. From original production shows to deck parties, live music, trivia, karaoke, game shows, and more, there's a wide array of options to satisfy everyone in your travel party. During our cruise on Carnival Elation, we attended quite a few events, ranging from Friends trivia to themed deck parties, playlist live production shows in the main theater, and comedy shows. Trivia was perhaps the only activity that we didn't feel pressure to arrive early for. Playlist live and comedy shows, however, were much different. We would often try to arrive at least 10 minutes before doors opened, especially for comedy shows, as Sarah had a strong interest in sitting in the front row. Overall, though, the nightly events were Sarah's favorite part about cruising on Carnival Elation, especially the piano bar. Moving on, since Sarah's first ever Carnival cruise was on the smallest ship in the fleet, she was able to appreciate the emphasis on family. Whenever someone came over the PA system, they'd address the passengers by saying, for example, "Good morning, Carnival Elation family." While a small gesture, it made her feel more cared for and welcomed as a guest. Sarah particularly enjoyed the energy and presence of the cruise director, Zach. It wasn't just the staff that felt friendly either. She saw familiar faces almost every day. There were people that we'd see at dinner who would be across from us on the pool deck the next day. Finally, the ship wasn't as clean as she thought it would be. While an older ship, Sarah had relatively high expectations for the overall condition since it had received extensive renovations just a few years ago. However, upon entering our cabin, she thought it wasn't as clean as it should have been, particularly the ensuite bathroom. The bathroom floor was pretty faded and the shower curtain had some large stains on it. On the second day, the shower handle actually broke because of the rust. She noted that there was a lot of dust throughout the cabin as well, especially on the light fixtures. Unfortunately, the issue wasn't exclusive to our stateroom. When we got back on the ship in Nassau, Sarah went to order a drink for sail away while watching stragglers return to the ship. The base of the glass was rather dirty, and she hadn't even set it on anything. Having sailed on one of Carnival's oldest ships, Sarah would definitely consider a cruise on one of their newer vessels. Now that she's familiar with the Carnival brand, the experience wouldn't feel as foreign. That's all for now, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, happy cruising from us at Cruise Blog.